94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city and home of the Juan Castillo Morning Show. Good morning, New Haven family. This is Jay Kemp, and this is Moving Target. Of course, my co-host, well, not even of course, but my co-host, Remedy Sharif, is not here today, but prayers up to him and everything that he's persevering through. And then, of course, we got the King Spencer. What's up, young king?
What's up, y'all? Good morning, New Haven.
You know, man. I might have to put you on the spot one day, man.
Really?
I might just say like, look, Spencer, I ain't got it today, man. You gonna have to host this.
Hey, if you gotta do, you gotta do.
Well, you got to speak into the mic first.
Word.
What's going on, brother? You good?
Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, how'd you? I didn't see you this past weekend. Were you here this past weekend?
Nah, I wasn't.
No?
It was a good message I heard. I
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah. I was in Miami, man.
Oh yeah.
So I was real mad coming back. It's New England weather. I don't care if I grow up in it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm tired of the cold.
It's cold 24/7 up here.
Yeah,
Even
but
over-
it's gonna be like 70 degrees today, though. It's supposed to be.
I think next week is supposed to be some good weather
Yeah, for like 2 weeks,
for 2 weeks.
and then it goes away. You know what I mean?
Summertime though.
That's
It's
just-
summertime.
It doesn't matter in New England, man. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It doesn't matter. Summertime, we get snowstorms. You know what I mean?
I just pray we don't get no tornadoes.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the good part. We don't get that stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Not normally.
You gotta take the good with the bad.
Yeah, we do. So a lot of stuff to talk about that went on this week. We were going to have Dr. Umar Johnson on the show, but he postponed his he was going to be in Hartford. So he postponed that. He was going to talk about the school to prison pipeline. So instead, last minute, we had to call one of our reoccurring guests who's doing great things in the community. And I wanted to make sure I gave him a call and got him on the line because I just saw an incredible article on Global Citizen with my brother Zaki. Zaki, you there?
I'm here. What's going on, brother? Good morning, fellas.
Good morning, Ken. Yo, I appreciate you. I woke you up like 10 minutes ago. I was like, yo, what you doing?
Yeah, I know, right? No, it's all good, man. Yeah, it's all good, man.
I'm always
Anybody-
grateful.
If anybody has the right to do that, is Jay Kemp.
I appreciate that,
Yo,
bro.
Get up.
Yo,
Wake
I
up,
get
man.
a lot of people up for this show, bro. A lot of people.
No, it's all good.
So yeah, man, there's a lot I want to talk with you about. First and foremost, man, congratulations on everything you've been doing. I mean, you're in a full feature film, right? You're around some amazing people in Hollywood, Black Hollywood specifically. And on top of that, I just read this article about you in the Global Citizen. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. Cool. No, thanks a lot. And so, well, just correction about the film. Well, it's actually a series. It's called For Life, and George Tillman is the director of it. And yeah, very good friend of mine. Actually, was a client of mine, still a client of mine, just in regards to the barbering, because I still cut hair every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, the Global Citizens article. So it happened as a result of this brother by the name of Kos, man, who I did a Feast for Fair Chance dinner in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, a couple months back, and he was in the audience. Brother was in the audience. Brother was formerly incarcerated. Opened up a gym called Con Body.
Con Body, I like that.
Con Body. You can definitely visit the website Con Body. And he said, "Man, hey, yo, I want to do this. I want to do this gym. I want to do dinner in the gym." And I was like, "Wow, all right, let's do it, man." And he had the space, man, to set up like a prison cell, like
What?
literally.
So
Yeah, man.
so this dinner that you did, you said it was called what again?
A Feast for Fair Chance.
Feast
So it's a
for
dinner
Fair
that-
Chance.
Right. So it's a dinner that I do around awareness of collateral consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So it's entire, workshop, pretty much talk that I do with individuals that make them aware about collateral consequences and perpetual punishment, and how we can begin to roll back some of the 47,000 laws that exist around perpetual punishment that for formerly incarcerated individuals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we hit it off, man. We did the dinner, and he introduced me. He was a documentary is being produced as a result out of it. I was filmed that day as well, so more than likely I'll be in that documentary.
Wow.
And he connected me with they were doing the article and connected me with Global Citizens, and they came and interviewed me specifically to talk about bail, right? And more importantly, like for me also to like make certain that, bail, it seems to be on the, a lot of talk around prison reform is happening, no doubt, like bail. These are like buzz topics that are almost safe topics to some degree around prison reform. So bail, reducing prison population, like alternatives to prison, having conversations about a parole and probation. Like these are, pretty buzz topics that you can probably see, or hear, politicians talk about, or, people are having these conversations. And it's a beautiful thing. Like, yes, let's start looking at these things and making some shifts in it. But what I wanted to be certain, and I didn't want to be lost, is let's have this conversation about what happens after we release these individuals from prison, right? And this scarlet letter, this life sentence that they have of continual perpetual punishment after they're released from prison,
right?
And
that's the collateral consequence right there. After prison,
that's the collateral consequences. So I use collateral consequence because that is the I guess the scholarly word, or the word that is used. As I go along, I am learning. As I may have spoke before in the show, I'm learning the terminologies and things of that nature. But coming to the realization that these consequences are not collateral at all.
Right.
Right. And so, just for the sake of like this is the language that is used, right? I'll mention collateral consequences, but in essence, it's actually perpetual punishment. Now, that's exactly what it is: perpetual punishment.
Absolutely.
Right.
Have you been since then? Have you been, looking into a lot of the things that have been going on, even more so with police brutality and excessive force? I know it's two different topics, right? But one of the things that I think we lose sight on is that we are really trying to change the policy and the discretion that police have on using excessive force, right? So have you been, as you've been doing your journey of collateral consequences, have you been connecting with groups that are attempting to change the policy for cops and their ability to have excessive force?
Not actually. You know what I mean? I guess not exactly. You know what I'm saying? I can't say that yes, I've been like of course we pretty much travel. People are looking for reforming, changing the systems. We pretty much kind of traveled to some extent, like in the same pack to some degree, but not exactly. But
what is your take on that?
I mean, listen, you can't listen. Listen, man. Like, it's just so much that we need to change, like without question. You understand what I'm saying? That all this perpetual punishment, this constant punishment, is still that very racist and that slavery type of mentality that still exists, right? That has individuals believing that the color of our skin is a threat, right, and is a weapon, right? And so, yeah, man, this authority and this ability for them to do this, and it's a shame because you don't find this excessive force happening in other communities.
No,
right? And so it's like change the law, right? And but it's specifically around people of color,
right?
Specifically. Right, because it's not like the police officers don't engage with the Asian community or with the Jewish community or with the European community. It's not like that they don't engage in them in traffic stops and DUIs and other criminal activities that may happen in these individuals' community. It's not as if that they don't engage them in those ways, but they just see them in a different light. They actually see them more human, right, than they do people of color.
Do you think, because of this, for example, Pamela Turner, right? She was the woman who was shot and killed in Texas. She screamed
Yeah,
out that she was pregnant, right?
disgusting.
But it came to find out that she wasn't pregnant.
Hmm.
However, the debate is whether the police officer had a right because she grabbed his taser. So
Right.
the debate is whether he had a right to shoot her and to kill her. What is your take on that? Where do police officers get their, I guess, protection in a sense? Because if somehow they're being attacked and they're trained a certain way, are we in any kind of way, if we don't want to justify anybody being murdered, but at the same time, where do we give police officers as citizens? Where do we give police officers the leeway to do what they have to do?
Yeah, it's it's a challenging question also for me because my oldest daughter, is a police officer, right? And so and I understand too, but again, it always comes to race. Like, I don't know if you've seen the video that was circulating. It's an older video, but I watched this white man just handle two police officers, and under no circumstances did they pull out their weapon, their taser, nothing. Like, all they gave him, like he was handling them, punching them out, throwing them on the ground. Neither one of these officers pulled out their weapon to shoot this individual. And so, again, there is discretion, right? But it seems that, like, again, it just comes back to race, man. And there is no discretion with us. It's just automatic. Like, no, we are a danger, and these individuals need to die. Like, that's it, period.
Yeah. Spencer,
That's
you had a
it.
question?
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions for the police to fix their relationship with the black community? I think it's on them because it's like an internal problem within their community.
Without question, I think I come up, in the '80s, man. '80s, '70s, '80s, man, and so there was a different kind of policing that I experienced, coming up as a kid. Even though I was involved in a lot of the things that I was involved in coming up as a kid, there was a certain respect that we did have for the officers that came in the neighborhood, like if we were drinking or smoking in the neighborhood or what have you, and it's, hey, put it away or don't. That was sort of the rule, and the police understood that. And if you did not do that, they'd say, hey, man, I know you drinking, but you don't see me riding past here, at least put it away. And they'll walk off. And
Yeah.
the officers, some of the officers looked like us. They walked in the neighborhood. They walked in the community. We knew, some of the officers. But, now this is the case. You know what I mean? They have individuals who are not a part of our community at all, and are totally disconnected from our community, disconnected culturally from our culture, have no understanding of our culture, and the only understanding that they have of our culture is, what they may have heard or what they may see sometimes on TV or, what they've been fed.
Yeah.
So you think there should be some more diversification within that the police force?
Definitely, without question, there needs to be some diversification, but there needs to be some like real community engagement, right? Not one-offs and throw some basketball hoops up and throw a barbecue and a picnic.
Yeah, come on,
and just
stop.
kind of
Let's get to the
one-offs
real.
that they do in that they do in the summertime and say, hey, let's take some pictures with some kids. We did some things, right?
Yeah.
But like some real dialogue, like really communicating with individuals in the community and say, hey, man, listen, I'm a human being, man. I just so happen to have a job.
I
right?
think we need to figure out a way to start policing ourselves and policing the policing the police officers. I don't know how that would look. But yeah, there needs to. I feel like there needs to be more, more push behind us, the community, holding police officers accountable. Not after they do something, but even while they're on their job. You know, when what they're doing, making sure that we hold them accountable. I don't know what that looks like, but community policing is a conversation we really need to start having.
No, without question. No, I agree 100%. You know, these are the things that we need to do. And yeah, I mean, also, and I have to say it, like, I mean, what do we do about ourselves, right? As a
Mm.
community, right? How do we begin to start regulating ourselves and um a little like
Yeah.
how do we bring back that and can we, right?
Right.
Can we bring back that time when when I was coming up, you did something in the neighborhood, I'm able to communicate with your mama or what have you,
Yeah. No,
and
that's not happening.
I'm just
People be
saying,
like,
like,
mind your
what,
business.
right? How do we begin? How do we begin to restore that and understand, like, how those principles, like the respect person in front of Miss Mary, or like, we walking past somebody stooping.
Yeah, you're going out a little bit. Your cell phone, your phone connection's going out a little bit. But I
My
want
apologies.
that's all right. I
Can you
want
hear me?
to yeah, I can hear you now. I wanna kind of switch gears a little bit and start going into because something that took place this past week, we had a show on it. We had some sisters come in, a couple of women who were doulas, and another woman who was heavily involved, is still heavily involved in the social injustice towards black women specifically. We had them come in to talk about the dangers of black women giving birth in America, and this was before the Alabama abortion law was pushed to regulate women's reproductive systems. Right? They're actually trying to lock women up for having abortions. What's your take on men, white men specifically, but men period, creating laws that regulate women's reproductive systems? What's your take on that?
Yeah, man. I think it's possible that it could be really something else that these individuals are looking for, right? And I have to be honest, I'm not certain exactly what it is, right? But they're going through one avenue to create something else to, like, really be looking in another direction, though, right? Because there's always been this push to decrease the black population, and one of those ways is via abortion, right? Having abortion and things of that nature. How do we continue to decrease the population, the production of black people on the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the ways that they created, right, along with all of the other the food and the things of that nature and the killings and the all the things they're trying to
Yeah.
reduce the population. But without question, without a woman has a choice to do what it is that they wish to do with their body,
So,
right?
so
And
you're
so
pro-choice.
I'm pro-choice. I'm
Yeah,
pro-choice.
absolutely.
Same.
Does that conflict with, because I know you're heavily in, you're into Islam and you're a Muslim. Do you feel that conflicts with your spiritual position?
Yes, without question, because you know, in Islam, Allah says in the Quran, He says, you know, do not kill your children for fear of want,
Mm.
right? For fear of want. But also, and when I, look at circumstances, a lot of times the circumstances when which young women are becoming pregnant during, rape and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? You have to take a consideration and use some judgment too
Yeah.
in regards to that. So I'm definitely willing to sit down and have a conversation and, like, how do we revisit that? How do we, like, have a conversation to make it relevant to also what is happening now, right?
Yeah.
And I'm also interested in scholarly rulings, in regards to matters of that, from the Islamic world, right? Because I'm no scholar of Islam, you know what I mean, to know like the rulings of it, but I'm interested to also know like what would be those rulings or judgments around that.
I can even say, as a Christian, well, I was raised in a Christian background. No sin is greater than another. That's what I was taught to raise, to believe. So, um, I think people should consider this to be this situation. Well,
As far as the bill,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think, well, I'm pro-choice myself, so
right.
I don't think it should become with too much turmoil. Well, the bill, yeah, it should become with turmoil, but the right to have an abortion shouldn't have any consequences toward it, because, like you guys said again, women have a choice what they do with their body. It's
If
not,
if they're gonna regulate women's bodies, then they're gonna have to regulate men's bodies.
and if you're
No
gonna do,
doubt.
you're gonna have
You
to
know
No
what
have,
I'm
doubt.
saying?
yeah,
No doubt. No doubt.
there should be majority of women in that conversation to discuss. Like, you can keep a couple of males in there, but I
No,
think
you don't.
You
You
don't.
don't need no males
You
in there.
don't. You don't.
know?
I'm saying if you want,
Nah, you don't.
but yeah, you really don't.
Because let me tell you, I wouldn't want a bunch of women in the room deciding the fate of my body
Yeah, you're right.
and what's
you're
gonna
right.
happen to me.
Yeah,
I could only
Right.
imagine what they're
Yeah,
gonna
we have
think
no-
of.
yeah.
No, we have no right.
We
have no
don't.
right to.
So
We have no right to make those calls and to make those judgments.
one of the things that
on their
really
body.
one of the things that bothers me about this whole situation in Alabama and just in general is that I'm a firm believer, as we've discussed before, about not demonizing masculinity as a whole, right? And just as much as we want to point out toxic masculinity, we need to also have the conversations and point out what healthy masculinity looks like. The moment we start to try to get rid of masculinity and just say don't even use the term, it's and try to demonize that in itself as bad or toxic, that's when I start to have a problem. However, when it comes to situations like this, this is an example of the patriarchy that a lot of that has been discussed and talked about when associated with toxic masculinity, right? So it kind of bothers me though that this is even happening and that still to this day these lawmakers have not wisened up enough to know that this is a discussion where we need to just have women at the forefront discussing it. So Zaki, my question to you, even in regards to that, what do you feel like in the climate that we're living in? What do you feel like when it comes to the conversation around patriarchy, toxic masculinity, separating the two? Have you been having those conversations in your community? I know you do a lot of different discussions with large groups of people. Has that been a conversation that you've been having with a lot of people and trying to separate the two, masculinity and take toxic masculinity?
Yeah. 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 We have these.
I'm not
we
trying to
have
get you
these-
canceled, brother. We just talking.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, man, we have these conversations quite often. Me and yourself, and of course, my brother Supernova Slum, and
Yeah.
me and the brother Divine. We pretty much begin. We talk about these things around the whole, the toxic masculinity conversation, and it's in my belief, it's agenda.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And yeah, man, it's just again, I believe that I just sometimes don't even believe that I'm having sometimes having these conversations
No.
with toxic masculinity and masculinity. You know what I mean?
I understand.
But
It's a new topic.
it's just I just healthy men, like healthy relationships. Men that are not toxic, or I think that we need to be more in the forefront in terms of speaking out, like in terms of what is healthy for us,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
and what is healthy, and also at the same time speaking about what isn't healthy. You know what I mean?
Right.
What isn't healthy as well. And so Yeah, so I'm in those conversations about that, you know what I mean, and also in the same space, dismantling the notion that masculinity in itself is toxic, and uh, agenda that exists.
Yeah.
The individuals will not willingly admit to that, but yeah, so
Yeah.
it's just very important. It's just very important that we draw our lines in the sand and like stand on our position, just who we are as men and what is healthy for
Mhm.
us, what we understand healthy is, and what we understand what healthy is in relationship, and having that conversation with our women, right,
Yes. Yes.
around healthy, what is healthy for us, and what is healthy for our relationship, and what is not healthy for our relationship. And I think that we just have a lot of healing.
Mm.
We have a lot of healing. We have a lot of healing around white supremacy, and begin to start acknowledging a lot of the trickery that exists in white supremacy, and some of the things that we may or may not be holding as a part of our beliefs that is rooted in white supremacy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think healing is at the core of all of it, and I think you touched on something that's important, having these discussions with women is also very important. One of the pushbacks that, or should I say, some of the resistance that happens when we have those conversations occurs because of healing that men have not experienced and women. And so it becomes a blame game,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
so we can't have a very healthy dialogue, because as soon as I might make an assessment or an observation of a woman, it's automatically met with, oh, well, shoot, let's look at you men. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And now it becomes that thing, right? One of the exercises that I heard my brother Don Sawyer spoke of was, it was after a couple of days of a workshop for men and women, and they had a very intense workshop discussing certain issues that revolve around black men, black women, relationships, the family structure, all of that. And at the end, towards the end, all the men had to line up, and the women lined up in front of them and looked the man in there that was in front of them right in the eyes, and told them their pain, and the
Yeah.
men had to stay there and absorb that and not say a
Yeah.
word.
That's powerful.
Powerful.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
I feel like that needs to happen, maybe not necessarily in that fashion, but men, that's one way that we can really begin to start that healing process, is for men to really, really, really become empathetic towards the plight that sisters in specifically have been carrying for so long. you know
Right. No, without doubt, without a doubt. You know what I mean? Yeah, just having the ability to acknowledge like trauma, man. You know what I
yes.
mean? That individuals is living and navigating through a life and looking through a lens through trauma,
Right.
right? Consistent trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So no,
right now,
those things definitely need to happen.
for you, what are you reading? What are you absorbing? What are you doing for your trauma, for your mental health, for your healing? What are some practices and things that you do to keep you in the mindset that you need to be in? Because a lot of people don't know, you're kind of like my dream director. We have conversations, and you make sure I stay on my path. But I never really asked you, like, what is it that you do for your own mental stability and mental health?
I keep myself around like beautiful people. You know what I mean? People that we feed each other's spirit. You know what I mean? We feed each other's spirit, and I consistently just keep myself around those people. Keep myself in just spiritual worship,
Mm.
um, and just keeping myself around beautiful energy.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much part of my practice. You know what I mean? And just I'm able to sift out the energy and the conversations that I'm making sure that I'm getting with people, and people are able to have and so forth and so on, and returning it, putting it back out into the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Helping, giving it to other people. Like you said, like I'm your dream director, like being able to get on the phone and talk to you and like, hey, what do you need, brother? Like,
Right.
hey, how can I assist in any kind of way? Let me rock with you around, help shaping this particular idea, what you're feeling, or whatever it is. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I do the same thing. And it's amazing that a lot of the individuals, and I don't want to say amazing. Let me take that back. Not say amazing, but a lot of the individuals that I keep in my circle around, helping me keep my energy and keeping my health and trauma, uh, you know, dealing with those things are women.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
pretty
great.
much.
That's great. Has it
Yeah, our
always been like
women are
that?
are, are the sisters. No, it hasn't been.
Mm.
It,
When
it
did
it
that
hasn't
start?
been.
Like when did it start being that it was the sisters really being your core?
Um, I can't really pinpoint.
Was it
Uh,
after like after doing your bid and everything?
I think it was more so after, yes, definitely after doing my bid.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Just put myself around powerful women that, that fed my soul and that were nurturing and
Mm.
that were, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, and then also being able in the same space, being able to identify and find brothers from that space too.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, sisters. It's been sisters. You know.
When you because being in prison is traumatic, to say the least. So I know there's a lot of healing that needs to be done from that. I know there's PTSD that comes from that. A lot of brothers have not done their due diligence to deal with that.
No
Um,
doubt. Yep.
would you say you have, and what was your process in doing that?
I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work because it's a thing that I acknowledged, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to acknowledge it. I was only able to see it in myself, seeing it happen externally,
Mm.
right? And like seeing other brothers who've come home from prison and like acknowledging like, wow, this is as a result of being in prison. Brothers going to the penitentiary, extremely young and getting a lot of time, and then coming home and pretty much come home to that same kind of young spirit, and you just kind of see them running around wild as if
Yeah.
it's still 95. Like, you know what I mean? Because they've missed all of that time. And so all the time that they may have had, the energy to do, it's been bottled up to, and then dealing with relationships
Yeah.
and, maintaining healthy relationships and the people that individuals keep in their circle. And so, I made certain that I just wanted to shake off those negative, very negative traits that may have existed for as a result of being in prison. And
Mm.
I I pretty much protected my energy in prison as well.
Okay.
So even in that space, like looking to make sure that I was around brothers who fed my soul in them spaces, right? And that
Mm.
was looking for positive change, because I knew that I wasn't going back to the penitentiary. So I knew that I needed to make sure that I wasn't going to be involved in, a lot of the political climate that exists in the prison situations that can have you be there for quite some time, or just sort of have your mentality
Mm.
be in the space of, predator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And,
So you were
so
healing while you were locked up, which means your process already began when you got out.
exactly, and that's where it needs to happen. It needs to happen before you get in the street. You know what I mean? And I think that that's a lot of, and so you have to find it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you have to find it because it's it's not a thing like where this is how the structure is set up for you to have it, and this is the norm of the thing. Like, you have to find it and create it and
Right.
build it yourself. Excuse me. Yeah, you know. And so I've often thought, like, how do we begin to build those things to where brothers and sisters are able to heal, begin the process of healing before they're actually released in the street versus, they get in the street and they're trying to heal,
Is there
right?
therapy offered while in prison?
No, I haven't experienced any therapy in
Wow.
prison as long as I've been going back and forth. I mean, they have therapeutic communities such as NA, AA. They have some alternative to violence programs, but a lot of them are pretty weak. They're like extremely weak, and like you have individuals who are usually just going to those things to get a certificate for parole or to make the parole board, and it's not a thing that a lot of times individuals really invest in and take on as a part of their multiple choice. I often said that me and Devon was talking about our multiple choice, our ability to choose from a thing. So like, had the brother who killed Nipsey Hussle pretty much had another option, like in his mind or in his repertoire, in his bag of what do I do in the space of conflict, right? Nipsey would probably still be alive,
Right.
right?
Right.
But his ability to choose the things that he had from his toolkit to choose on how to deal with conflict, it was limited
Yes.
to kill, violence, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
This is how you respond to a thing, A or B, right?
Right.
And both of those, were violent, right? And so had he had something else, and if we had those tools on the things to how do we deal with challenging situations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I'm shocked that they don't have that heavily. I guess I'm not surprised, but to have therapy in prison while you're locked up and have that offered to help inmates possibly rehabilitate. You know what I'm saying? The fact that that's not even something that exists after so many years, it's crazy to me.
Listen, this is not about. Wait a minute. Hold on. The prison system is not about rehabilitation.
I know.
Yeah, this is not about rehabilitation. This is the plantation is
Right.
what it is, right? This is about how do we, right? And so not only do they not have that, they also have the setup of what you had me on the show for, that we started the conversation about. They had, so once you get out, we have perpetual punishment exists.
That's right.
So that you return back to prison. This is about recidivism. This is not about healing.
Helping.
This is not about healing and helping and making sure that we're productive citizens in the community, and we can go back to the poverty stricken communities in which we've all come from and enrich and build our family structure. No, this is not about that. It's to possibly have you worse off than you were when you came here. So when you go back, you can't cope with the perpetual punishment, and you're back in the poverty-stricken neighborhoods that you're in. So you'll return back to what it is that you do so that you can come back here again.
Yeah.
This is what this is about. This is a plantation. This isn't about any of that.
Yeah.
And so, no. And even with all of the prison reform that exists, right? And, Allah willing, man, that this is not the case, but even with all of the prison reform, they're going to try to find a way, just as they found a way in the state of Florida. And since the last time we spoke, in the state of Florida, they had the law which passed, which allowed 1.45 million people who are formerly incarcerated the ability to vote, right? Because prior to that, the perpetual punishment or collateral consequence that exists then was, if you were convicted of a crime or even arrested in some situations, you lost your ability to vote for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right? And so they restored it. But here's the trick bag that they do always, and they slip in under, in the middle of the document, of the 600-page document. You are permitted to vote when you pay all your restitution and court fees and things of that nature. So
which will never happen.
Which would never happen.
Unless you got Kim Kardashian and you good.
Which will never happen. People are poor still. Perpetual punishment, collateral consequences still exist
Yeah.
in the state of Florida. So even with the ability to vote, your financial situation can still will still remain the same. Your ability to be employed, your ability to have a livable wage, all of that still exists.
Yeah.
And so people who owe restitution and court fees, they made sure the interest is tacked on it. And so when people get out of prison, they're not thinking about paying court fees and restitution. People
Right.
are trying to survive, and so the interest increased on these things, and so people owe from where's to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So guess what? We back at individuals not voting again.
So, brother Zaki, man, I just want to thank you again for joining us. I'm gonna make sure I post that Global Citizen article again so people could check you out and begin to follow you.
Yep.
God bless you, brother. I really appreciate you, brother.
Yes, please, man. Please have folks follow. Also visit. I have a soft website currently, which is my collateralconsequences.com. Yeah, please visit. Sign up for possibly attending a Feast for Fair Chance dinner, hosting a dinner. Also follow my Collateral Consequences on Instagram, and also follow myself, Zaki the Barber. And stay tuned because there's a lot coming up, and hopefully I'll be in your city to host a dinner.
Absolutely. All right, brother. We'll talk soon.
Nah, no doubt, brother. Peace.
Peace. All right, that was Brother Zaki. I just want to also say this before we end off here. Breaking ground, all right, May 18th, today, 10:30 a.m. Mayor Hart will be there. This is a garden that's going to be opening 100 Valley Street in the Westville area of New Haven, Connecticut. All right. The mission is to provide a tranquil, serene space for loved ones to remember their loss to gun violence, create community awareness, because it does take a village. All right. And matter of fact, It Takes a Village will be there. So make sure you go to this. All right. Today, 10:30 a.m. You can call 203-432-6570. All right. Breaking ground, 100 Valley Street in the Westville area, New Haven, Connecticut, May 18th, today. 10:30 a.m. All right. Make sure you check it out. 94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city. This is Moving Target.